We are equipped, period. Yes, with the authority of the Spirit of God to recognize when something is just straight up out of order and demonic, and we know how to pray. We're not afraid to address what we're seeing in the moment with prayer because prayer is powerful. Listen, it's 2025. We all know churches aren't as safe as they used to be, and there's a lot of angry people out there, and they're coming in and doing unsafe things. Is your church equipped? Welcome to the Pastor's Lounge. I'm Sheri, your unapologetically Christian therapist. Here we talk about all things mental health and wellness from a biblical perspective. Risky, altar calls. This is something that has been really near and dear to my heart ever since I became an official therapist. And, I feel like every type of profession that we have in the world, or the things that we gravitate towards, that's kind of how you see the world, right? So we could all be watching the same movie, but if you put an architect and someone who's super into movies, obviously, or a therapist like me, or an artist, or a medic, all in the same room watching the movie, they're going to pick up on different things because of the lens that they have, literally, figuratively, right? Their profession. That's how I feel. Everywhere I go, can't help but think like a therapist. So when I'm in church, in any church, I think like a therapist. I'm looking around. I'm obviously there to enjoy the presence of the Lord, but I'm a people person. It's kind of my thing. So I observe, I see what's going on. I'm sensitive to just what I pick up on with people. And what I have been especially sensitive to is being keenly aware of seeing how different churches operate when they're dealing with people that are hurting. It is extremely common and appropriate, right? The church is essentially a hospital. It's a healing space for people to come forward and acknowledge the things that have been painful in their lives, and just coming right into the presence of the Lord to receive their wholeness and their healing and their restoration. And I can't help but just think, as a therapist, as a clinician, watching these beautiful moments happen, what's the follow-up? What happens with these people afterwards? And in some churches, some spaces that I'm familiar with, I'm aware of the protocols, but then it started to beg the question for me, and you guys, some of you have been following our journey, our videos here, that I've shared that I've, reached out to some churches about the work that we do, and I'll say, hey, we're a Christian, therapist, a Christian company looking to offer counseling support. Like, we don't believe in Christian therapy. So I'm like, oh, what's going on in your church, right? So knowing that type of attitude exists, I can't help but be so sensitive to ministries that I may not be as familiar with, that I'm going into or visiting. And I think, what happens when you have an altar call, like, hey, anyone I send somebody's here who's been through some type of abuse, for example, or have been hurt in some way that is very intimate, very dear, and people come forward and they're laying hands and we're praying, and then they go back to their seats, and I'm like, oh, now what? Like, is somebody going to follow up with that person? Like, do we know if that situation is still active? Are we making sure that there are some supports in place for them? Are we offering them resources? Is there somebody following up because of the specific nature of this altar call? Like, especially if minors come forward, if it's a youth service and kids are coming forward and acknowledging that there is something, really awful that they've been through. Is there someone who kind of pulls them aside, like, hey, so are you safe to go home? Is this an active scenario? Or are we talking? That's the stuff. And of course, I can't ask every pastor and youth pastor and ministry leader to sit through course upon course about what to do in areas of social services and interventions and de-escalation techniques, and what do you do about abuse scenarios, or things that kind of delve into areas that lean more therapeutic or even legal in nature. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, what? Why not? Right? We should have that as the body of Christ. In general, right, we're equipped to pray and to support people and to love on them. But as we get into the leadership area, as we get into distinguishing the people that are praying over people and laying hands on them and speaking life over them or encouraging them, is everybody trained and equipped on what to do? Can they recognize if they're praying with someone and they're picking on the fact that there could be domestic violence going on, or there's something really dangerous that they're still experiencing, or, I've seen scenarios where people will just start shouting in the middle of service and it's not the Holy Spirit, it's something else. And obviously I grew up in more of a charismatic, church area. People are praying and we lay hands and we do the things. And then of course, here I am now. I'm like, okay, now what? Do we follow up? Do we check and make sure that things are safe? Is this person, if they really do need more intervention, is there a follow-up? Is there more that we're doing? This is not to say, and I'm careful, this is not to say that the healing power of God is insufficient. What I am saying is that it's important that we are equipped, period. Yes, with the authority of the Spirit of God to recognize when something is just straight up out of order and demonic, and we know how to pray. We're not afraid to address what we're seeing in the moment with prayer, because prayer is powerful. What we're also doing is making sure that there is ongoing support, because that individual obviously is eventually just going to leave the service, go back to whatever the circumstances are. It is not the church's job to keep track of everybody's whereabouts, but I think when it comes to some specific scenarios that are more risk-oriented, that's why I kind of talked about this being risky altar calls, when you are calling for things that in any other arena would necessitate a follow-up. Perhaps social services, if it's a minor who is essentially disclosing that there's abuse going on. Do your people know what to do? Pastor, leader, clergy member, does your team know how to respond? Do you have a selected group of counseling referrals? I have been blessed in the journey that I've been on here to talk to pastors and leaders when I'm reaching out and sharing about our services. They're like, this is great. We already keep a running list of local clinicians that love Jesus. And so I'm happy to know of you, and I'll add you to our list. This is really great. That blesses me. And I'm also blessed, of course, for people who say, we don't have that, and this is something we need. Thank you for giving your information. And then appalled by those who are like, this is ridiculous and unnecessary, because that's not true. So at the end of the day, regardless of where, if I'm speaking mostly to pastors and leaders here in this particular video, but wherever you fall in this particular area, it matters. I'm just pointing out in this conversation that it matters. Do you have the proper supports? Do you have the proper referrals? This can't all go to the pastor, by the way. This is not all on the pastor's shoulders to be all the things, because that's just impossible and unhealthy. What I'm saying is there a structure in place? Are there protocols? Are there proper security measures? Listen, it's 2025. We all know churches aren't as safe as they used to be, and there's a lot of angry people out there, and they're coming in and doing unsafe things. Is your church equipped? Is it well outfitted? Is it secure? Is there an order of operations? Should something happen? Should there be someone who falls ill in church? Someone who discloses some type of abuse? Is there a follow-up? Are there referrals? Are there professionals that you can quickly refer to and call and include having different consultants ready to go, legal representation? You just never know. So it's not enough to just exist and have good music and the word and outreach groups and Bible studies. That's awesome. We do need all of that. What I'm saying is your church set up to go that extra mile? Because this is just the age we're in, folks. People are coming in hurting and bleeding and sometimes unstable and sometimes unsafe. And it shouldn't be all on the pastor's shoulders to just figure everything out. The encouragement is take the time to be prepared. Have your lists ready. Have your referrals. Have some in-house clinicians that are trained and ready to support. Have your leaders and your children's ministry leaders well-versed on identifying signs of abuse or neglect, or knowing what their next steps should be if they see something that is harmful or concerning, how to follow up, how to connect them with the right resources or the right next set of leaders to be able to coach that family, individual person into getting the right type of support or avenue that they may need. This matters more than it ever has before. And so this video is really just an encouragement to those who are already, you hear this and you're like, yes, check. Well done. For those who are like, we got these two, but there are a few other things you mentioned, Sheri, so much. Okay, get your team together and start to take those steps towards just being better outfitted, because you just never know. And we want to be ready. We want to be prepared. We want to have the tools, spread the buffet nice and wide of all the things that you can offer to make sure that people leave whole leave with more information and more support than they came in with. And it's not because you're going to change all these circumstances, because at the end of the day, even with all these supports in place, people can refuse. They can say, no, I don't want that. I don't want that referral. I'm not going to do that. That's okay. But is it available? That's all. That's the most important part. So take some time, consider this, go through your protocols, have a conversation with your admin team or your leadership team and just say, listen, if X, Y, and Z were to happen, are we ready? If we were to see this type of scenario take place in one of our prayer meetings, if this were to happen during service, are we good? Do we have our bases covered? Just make sure. Do me a favor. Do yourselves a favor. Just make sure. That's enough. And that's how you take your church from being, yes, at the very least, a safe place for the presence of God to be housed, for community to come together, but also you go that extra mile of being a place that is really well equipped for any scenario that you're faced with, so that you are thorough, you are well protected, you are using wisdom, and you're able to operate with that much more safety and security to offer to your congregants and the people that they're bringing with them, and those that hear about you and just walk into the doors and you don't know what's coming in, but at least you are ready. That's what's most important. I hope this encouraged you, blessed you, gave you some food for thought, gave you some ideas so that you can better outfit your ministry to be ready for this generation, this time that we are in, so you can continue to serve the Lord with excellence and preparation. And if so, please like, subscribe, and definitely share with other ministers or people that you know could really utilize this information. And until next time, I pray that you prosper and you are in great health, even and especially as your soul prospers.